Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. This is Offgrid Van Life. My name is Nigel, and this is where we look at van conversions, lithium iron phosphate batteries, and everything in between. Basically, we want to help you to be able to get out a van, build it out, get on the road, and find that adventure. So in this video, what I'm going to be looking at is just starting to prepare the floor of the van and some of the sides and that ready for framing, insulation, and then paneling. So I'm going to be starting out with the floor. I looked at it in a previous video, so if you're interested in looking at that, go back in a couple of videos on the series of this van conversion, and you'll see where I pointed out some of the spots on the floor. So overall, this van is in very good condition. Pretty pleased with the condition. There's no real major issues. There's a couple of places where it's worn through the sidewall, so like here the wheel wells, there's a couple of spots where it's worn through just from having the plywood rubbing on that as it's been driving, that sort of thing. And then there's also a couple of spots where they drilled holes all the way through to screw down some plywood floors here. But on the whole, this van's in very good condition, so there's not a lot of work to be done on that. But I'm still going to get after it in a few places, paint it with some primer, and then put a white overcoat over the top of it. So yeah, we're going to get after that now and just tidy things up, get it all painted up, so that in the next few days we can panel this out and put the floor down. So yeah, that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so we've got this cleaned up as much as I need to, really. I'm pretty happy with most of it. There's a few spots, as I mentioned, that needed addressing, so now I'm going to put on some red oxide primer, which I'll leave to dry overnight, and then tomorrow I'll put a coat of white paint over the top of it to tidy it up. So we're going to get after it with the primer now. Okay, so that's us for tonight, I think. Overall, pretty happy with the state of the back of this van. I'll just come over all of this red oxide tomorrow with some white spray paint and finish it all off there. But yeah, on the whole, pretty happy. And the main reason I'm doing this is that I just don't want to have any metal that's not sealed with paint exposed that could get some moisture stuck there between the insulation and the metal and just eat away at it and corrode it. Because I don't intend to ever lift the insulation that I put in here and the floor that I put in here, and outside of it just being a huge job that would be a nightmare to do, it would, yeah, I just don't want to be going down that road in the future. So I want to make sure that this is all sealed nicely and good to go before we put the floor down. So we'll finish this off tomorrow, and yeah, then we can get the floor down. Okay, so all of our red oxide primer has dried overnight, so we're going to get after it with some white paint and get that all sealed in there and tidied up, getting ready to lay the floor in this van. We could actually just leave the red oxide as is, because obviously we're going to be covering it, but I'd like to just put a second coat on just so that I know for sure that all of these little rust points and areas where it's where the previous floor had scraped the paint off, that's all sealed in nicely and looking good. So we're going to get after that now. And there we have it. Got all of the little spots in this thing that needed a bit of a touch up on paint. We've got that painted. So we're going to let that dry out for a couple of days, and then we're ready to get the floor down in here. So obviously one of the things that we're going to have to take into consideration with the floor is that we've got all of these corrugations. So we're going to be running a frame system in here, which is just fairly small planks, but when we put them sideways like that, it'll give us the strength that we need, and they're also the right height for the insulation. So the insulation, we're going to sit on top of these ribs, and then I will put spray foam, expanding foam underneath that to kind of fill in the gaps. Also, it'll act as a bit of an adhesive to glue the insulation down as well. So yeah, we're going to get after that. Obviously we'll then build up around the wheel wells as well and get all that boxed in and insulated. And the important thing is that we don't have any thermal bridges or anything like that. But I'm going to be talking in a bit more detail, probably in the next video. I'm going to be talking through my thought process around insulation, and we'll dedicate a video just to that, because it's quite a big topic and it's quite widely debated as to what's the best option. Do you go for like sheep wool or sort of rock wool, whatever the different brands are called of that, or do you go for the foam that I'm going to be putting on the floor here, or a combination of the both, all those sort of things. So in this van, we're going to be going for the sheets of compressed foam with the vapor barrier on either side for the floor, just because it's the easiest, and it's in my mind it's going to be the best performance for what we're trying to do here. Quite a thick layer, so we're looking at 50 mils of insulation in that board, plus whatever's underneath it in the expanding foam. So you can have a very well insulated floor. In the walls I'm going to be using, and the roof for that matter, I'm going to be using expanding foam, and I'll go into more detail in the next video as to why I made those decisions. But yeah, this video is really just about preparing the van, getting after these little things. So when you buy a van, it's very important that you get the trim off inside here, have a good feel for what it looks like, because once you've converted it, you don't want to be pulling out that stuff to address rust and corrosion and all that stuff, because it can cause quite a problem if it goes unchecked. So with this van, obviously I'm confident in what I've done inside here. When I spray the expanding foam underneath the insulation, it's going to seal up all these little holes that are in here, and then next summer I'm actually going to seal the whole undercarriage and the wheel arches and everything, the wheel wells, with an underbody sealant. Probably go for something like Dinatrol or something like that, which has been quite good for other vehicles that I've used it on. So obviously we'll document that. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.